Sobrang di ko pa mapaniwala. Maraming salamat sa suporta. At sana patuloy yung suporta niyo sa akin. Kamusta mga kapang Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu Dhabi Open.
The biggest draw in tennis. How Alex Eala sent shockwaves through the WTA and reached world number 31. Okay, champions tennisitics family. Before we dive into today's absolutely explosive story, we need to pause for just one incredible second and acknowledge something massive happening right here at home. We just crossed 5,000 subscribers. 5,000 of you incredible tennis lovers chose to make Champions Tennisitics your home for all the drama, the upsets, the fire, and the passion that makes this sport unlike anything else in the world. From the very bottom of our hearts, thank you. This community is everything, and today we celebrate you by bringing you a story that is 100% worthy of the occasion. So buckle in, because what we are about to unpack is nothing short of a full-blown sporting revolution. Welcome back to Champions Tennisitics, your ultimate home for all the hottest baseline drama, unbelievable upsets, and the juiciest stories from the world of tennis. If you thought the WTA Tour couldn't get any more thrilling this season, you might want to grab a seat and maybe a snack, because what we are witnessing right now is nothing short of a seismic shift in women's tennis. For Alex Eala, tennis is not just a sport. It is a burning passion, an unstoppable dream, and a glorious means for her to carry the entire Filipino nation on her shoulders every single time she steps onto the court. And folks, as of February 23, 2026, that dream has hit a massive, historic milestone that sent the entire tennis world into a frenzy. Alex Eala has officially skyrocketed to her career highest ranking of world number 31. Yes, you heard that right. She leaped a staggering 16 spots in a single week after an absolutely jaw-dropping performance at the Dubai Tennis Championships. Today, we are diving deep into the meteoric rise of the Philippines' Golden Girl, the epic upsets that left the tennis world speechless, the high-profile shout-outs from legends like Rafael Nadal and Manny Pacquiao, and why former pros are literally calling her the biggest draw in women's tennis today. This is Champions Tennisitics, and this is the story you cannot afford to miss. Let us set the scene in the blazing heat of the Middle East. The Dubai Tennis Championships is one of the most grueling, star-studded WTA 1000 events on the entire calendar. Only the absolute best of the best survive the desert hard courts, where the sun beats down relentlessly and every ball feels like it's been launched from a cannon. The competition is fierce, the stakes are enormous, and the pressure is suffocating. Enter a 20-year-old Filipina phenom who decided she wasn't just there to participate. She was there to take over. She was there to announce herself to the entire planet, and announce herself, she absolutely did. Eala didn't just tiptoe into the tournament with cautious footsteps and hopeful eyes. She kicked the door down with the kind of explosive confidence that you simply cannot teach. Coming into Dubai ranked 47th in the world, the young star had already been building momentum through strong results in Abu Dhabi and a run through the Qatar Open. She had been quietly accumulating form while the tennis media was busy talking about everyone else. But Dubai was where the whispers became a roar. Dubai was where everything changed. The true earthquake happened in the round of 32 when she stared across the net at world number 8 Jasmine Paolini, the reigning Roland Garros finalist who had been one of the hottest players in the entire world over the past 12 months. On paper, it was a mountain to climb. The kind of mountain that most players half-convincingly try before politely retreating. But Alex Eala doesn't play the statistics. She plays the ball. And on that electric night in Dubai, she played it absolutely brilliantly. With blistering baseline winners struck with the kind of ferocity that made spectators physically flinch and a mental toughness that veterans twice her age would genuinely envy, she completely dismantled Paolini. Every shot was purposeful. Every pattern was deliberate. She was clinical, she was composed, and she was completely, utterly fearless. The victory sent shockwaves crashing through the locker room in Dubai and reverberating far beyond. When the result flashed across screens around the world, tennis fans everywhere had the same reaction. Who on earth is Alex Eala, and where did she come from? Well, For those of us in the Champions Tennisics community, we knew exactly who she was. And we have been telling you for months. But here's the thing about greatness. It doesn't just show up once and take a bow. It keeps coming back for more. Next up in the round of 16 was the notoriously tricky Romanian, Sorana Cîrstea, a seasoned veteran who had beaten everyone including Eala herself at the 2024 WTA 1000 Madrid event, and who possesses the singular ability to make even the world's top 10 players look utterly confused. Cîrstea came out swinging with all of her considerable experience and guile, building a dangerous 5-4 lead in the opening set that had a few hearts skipping a beat. For a second, you could almost hear a pin drop across the sea of Philippine flags that had packed the Aviation Club Tennis Center. Was the Cinderella run already over? Was the dream about to come crashing down? Not a chance in the world. Not on this night. Not with this player. Eala flipped a switch somewhere deep inside that burning competitive engine of hers, broke right back, and absolutely snatched that opening set 7-5. And if that wasn't thrilling enough, she then proceeded to close out the entire match in straight sets, 7-5, 6-4, leaving Cîrstea's normally unflinching facade looking slightly bewildered. Every forehand in that match was struck with pure venom and a kind of snarling intensity that made you lean forward in your seat. Every serve was placed with the surgical precision of a player who has spent years studying the science of discomfort. She was dancing on the court, completely and utterly unfazed by the magnitude of the moment, as if Dubai were just another practice session at her local club back in the Philippines. The crowd, of course, was absolutely losing their minds. If you tuned into the broadcast of that quarterfinal, you saw something that left former ADP stars genuinely struggling to find the right words. The stands of the Aviation Club Tennis Center were an absolute sea of Philippine flags. The colors were everywhere. The roars from the Filipino supporters were absolutely deafening, bouncing off every surface in the arena and filling every corner with a passion that was almost overwhelming. Fans had packed the stadium to the rafters in standing room conditions, pressing in from every available angle, doing absolutely anything just to get a glimpse of their hometown hero in action on the biggest stage she had yet graced. The atmosphere felt less like Dubai on a February evening and far more like downtown Manila on a Friday night during a championship fight. On the brilliant Nothing Major podcast, former ADP professionals Sam Querrey, Steve Johnson, and the towering John Isner found themselves debating a question that would have sounded completely absurd, possibly even slightly delusional, just 2 years ago. Is Alex Eala a bigger draw right now than Aryna Sabalenka and Coco Gauff? Let that question hang in the air for a moment. Sabalenka, the world number one who has dominated the sport for the past 3 years with her thunderball hitting and terrifying competitive spirit. Gauff, the American golden child who won the U.S. Open and whose fanbase spans continents. And here are 3 hardened former professionals sitting there seriously entertaining the idea that a 20-year-old Filipina, not yet ranked inside the top 30, might actually be pulling bigger crowds and generating more raw electricity than either of those established superstars. Steve Johnson didn't even hesitate when pressed. He called the fan turnout for Eala's matches, quote, insane, and compared it to some of the wildest, most electrifying atmospheres he had witnessed anywhere in professional tennis. He noted that whether Eala is playing in Australia, in Doha, or in Dubai, every single court she steps onto is completely sold out and crackling with an energy that is simply unlike anything else on the tour right now. Eala is no longer just a rising star. She has become a genuine rock star. She is carrying an enormous, incredibly passionate and deeply emotionally invested fan base wherever she travels, turning every single match she plays into a de facto home court advantage for the Philippines that simply has no equivalent anywhere else on the women's tour. To truly understand how we got to this extraordinary juncture, we have to rewind the clock and travel thousands of miles away from the desert courts of Dubai to the sun-soaked island of Mallorca off the coast of Spain. Because it is there, at the legendary Rafa Nadal Academy, that the Alex Eala we are watching today was forged from raw talent into a genuine world-class competitor. Moving away from her family and everything she had ever known at just 13 years old, Eala was essentially immersed in the competitive DNA of the King of Clay himself from the very beginning of her formative years as a professional. She spent years grinding on those famous red clay courts in Mallorca, graduating from the academy in 2023, and absorbing a work ethic, a competitive philosophy, and a mental approach to the game that simply refuses to accept defeat as a permanent condition. The Nadal Academy is not a finishing school for talented young players. It is a crucible. It demands everything from its athletes and produces warriors in return. And Alex Eala came out of it with the fire of a champion burning very clearly inside her. It turns out that her legendary former mentor is keeping a very close and very proud eye on everything she is achieving right now. Following her absolutely historic, planet-shaking run to the semifinals of the 2025 Miami Open, a campaign during which she knocked out established heavyweights including Madison Keys and the great Iga Swiatek when ranked as high as world number 2, Eala revealed a detail that sent the internet into an absolute frenzy. She checked her phone in the days following that Miami run and found a personal, private message from none other than Rafael Nadal himself, the 22-time Grand Slam champion, the man whose name is synonymous with everything magnificent about professional tennis. Imagine scrolling through your notifications after the biggest tournament result of your young life and seeing that name in your inbox. Imagine the feeling. Nadal reportedly expressed immense pride in her achievement and encouraged her to keep pushing forward. The fact that he took personal time out to reach out and acknowledge what she had done speaks volumes about the impression she made during those years training under the Academy's philosophy. And given that she has continued to climb and climb since that Miami breakthrough, we can only imagine what message he might be composing right now. But the legendary endorsements powering this extraordinary story don't begin and end with tennis royalty. Back home in the Philippines, the ultimate icon of an entire generation of national sporting achievement, the incomparable Manny Pacman Pacquiao himself, has publicly joined the Alex Eala hype train and done so with the kind of full-throated enthusiasm that only a true believer can summon. Here is some genuinely delicious additional context that makes this story even richer when you sit down and really appreciate the scale of the journey. At the entry deadline for the 2026 Indian Wells Open, Eala was hovering between 40th and 47th in the world rankings. At that ranking, she was right on the borderline of direct entry into the main draw of one of the sport's most prestigious tournaments. She made it in, and then she went to Dubai and absolutely lit the tournament on fire, climbing 16 spots to arrive at her career high of number 31. What that ranking means in practical terms is genuinely transformative for her season. At number 31, Eala is now seeded at Indian Wells, which means she cannot face another seeded player until the third round at the very earliest. That is a massive competitive advantage in a draw that reads like a who's who of the greatest women's players currently alive. We are talking about world number 1 Aryna Sabalenka, world number 2 Iga Swiatek, world number 3 Elena Rybakina, the aforementioned Coco Gauff at number 4, defending champion Mira Andreeva, Jessica Pegula, Amanda Anisimova, Jasmine Paolini, Alina Svitolina, and a cast of former Grand Slam champions including Emma Raducanu and the legendary Venus Williams with a wild card. That is the field that Alex Eala is walking into in her very first appearance at this tournament, seated and ready to compete. And in a delightful subplot that the Philippines will absolutely love. Also in the draw is Leylah Fernandez, the Canadian star of Filipino descent who has her own passionate fanbase pulling for her. The warm-up courts alone are going to be packed. And here is the truly staggering thing about all of this when you look at the numbers side by side. At this exact same time 1 year ago, Alex Eala was ranked number 140 in the world. She was fighting in qualifying rounds and smaller events, working her way up through the grind of professional tennis one match and 1 point at a time. Now she stands at number 31. She has prize money of $98,500 from Dubai alone, bringing her total tournament earnings into genuinely significant territory. She is seated at WTA 1000 events. She has beaten a top 10 player in Jasmine Paolini, and she has a quarterfinal appearance at Dubai on her 2026 resume already. She has also made a critically smart tactical decision ahead of Indian Wells that tennis analysts at Tennis Head have already praised publicly. In previous tournaments this year, Eala was playing doubles alongside various partners at events including the ASB Classic, the Abu Dhabi Open, and the Australian Open. For Indian Wells, she has made the wise decision to withdraw from the doubles draw entirely and focus exclusively on her singles campaign. With a seeding in place and an opponent draw that gives her a genuine path to a deep run, the last thing you want is a heavy doubles schedule eating into your recovery time and energy reserves. The decision shows a growing strategic maturity that matches her growing on-court brilliance. The beauty that sits at the absolute center of Alex Eala's story, the element that makes it genuinely transcend a simple sports narrative and become something almost cinematic in its emotional depth, is that she is doing all of this for something so much bigger than a ranking number or a trophy. In her own words, and through everything she has said in numerous interviews over the past year, tennis has given her everything. The opportunities, the education, the relationships, the competitive growth, the chance to stand on global stages and compete against the very best in the world. And she is completely dead set on giving back to the sport and to the nation that has adopted her as its sporting champion with a fervor that borders on the religious. Every time she wins, an entire country of over 100 million people feels the joy with her. Every time she competes, millions of young Filipino children watching on screens at home or gathering in arenas when the tour swings through their part of the world dare to dream a little bigger about what might be possible for them. She is paving the road for Southeast Asian tennis. She is proving with every match and every ranking point that players from her region can not only compete at the absolute highest level of global professional tennis, but can become the story that everyone in the sport is talking about. Novak Djokovic, Serena Williams, Steffi Graf. The list of legends who have stood on those courts and made history stretches back decades. And in March 2026, Alex Eala will add her name to that list for the very first time, stepping into the main draw not as a hopeful qualifier or a wildcard recipient, but as a seeded player who has earned every single place in that draw through the sheer force of her talent, her work ethic, and her refusal to be anything less than extraordinary. After Indian Wells, her schedule heads straight back to the Miami Open from March 17th to 29th, another WTA 1000 event where she now enters with a direct main draw berth thanks to her improved ranking. Miami holds special emotional significance for Eala, of course, because it was the 2025 Miami Open where she truly broke through onto the global stage, defeating Madison Keys and Iga Swiatek in consecutive matches as a wildcard to reach the tournament's semifinals. Returning to Miami as a seeded player with the confidence of a Dubai quarterfinal and a world number 31 ranking behind her is going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. The student has returned as something considerably more dangerous. The tennis world, once it started paying attention to Alex Eala, has found it simply cannot look away. And that is the final, most telling measure of what she has become in such a remarkably short period of time. When your matches are must-watch television regardless of who you are playing or where the tournament is being held. When former Grand Slam champions and Hall of Fame inductees are debating whether you might already be the biggest attraction in the women's game. When the greatest clay court player in the history of the sport takes time from his retirement to send you a personal message of congratulation. When the most celebrated athlete in your country's sporting history publicly declares that watching you play fills him with national pride. When crowds fly their flags and travel thousands of miles just to be in the same arena as you. You are no longer just a tennis player. You are a phenomenon. And Alex Eala is, without any shadow of any doubt whatsoever, a full-blown, bona fide, era-defining phenomenon. She captioned her Instagram story showing her new career high ranking with just 3 words and 2 emojis. Touching 3, followed by a red heart and a teary-eyed smiling face. Simple, understated, and absolutely perfect. Because behind those 3 words is the weight of every early morning practice session at the Nadal Academy, thousands of miles from home. Behind those 2 little emojis is the memory of every qualifier she had to grind through, every flight to a smaller tournament, every moment of self-doubt that she had to fight through alone in a hotel room in a foreign city. Behind that caption is the story of an entire nation's worth of hope and pride and belief and love. Touching 3. Not yet, but getting closer by the week. And when she does, Champions Tennisitics will be right here to bring you every spectacular, dramatic, flag-waving moment of it. Listen, this is the part of the program where we turn it right back over to you, the absolute heartbeat of this community. We want to hear everything you have to say about this incredible story. Will Alex Eala crack the top 20 before 2026 is out? Can she go deep at Indian Wells and shock the world all over again? Who do you want to see her face off against most urgently? Is it a rematch with Coco Gauff where Eala is better prepared and firing on all cylinders? A showdown with Aryna Sabalenka, the wrecking ball from Belarus who sits at the very top of the sport? Or maybe a blockbuster clash with Iga Swiatek, the woman she already beat at Miami last year, to prove that result was no fluke? Drop your predictions, your wildest theories, your hottest takes, and your passionate fan messages in the comments section right down below. We genuinely read every single one of them and love hearing from you more than you know. And speaking of love, Champions Tennisitics family, if you enjoyed this deep dive into the absolute whirlwind that is the 2026 season of Alex Eala, we have a very simple but very important request. Smash that like button right now. It takes 2 seconds, and it tells the algorithm that this kind of premium tennis content is exactly what the world needs more of. Share this video with a fellow tennis fanatic who needs to know this story. Post it in your group chats. Send it to that friend who thinks they know everything about tennis but hasn't heard of Eala yet. Let's make them believers together. And most importantly of all, if you haven't already joined the 5,000+ strong Champions Tennisitics family by hitting that subscribe button, now is absolutely the time. We are here every single week with the stories that matter, the analysis that cuts through the noise, and the passion for tennis that matches yours completely. Keep your rackets ready. Keep your passion for the game absolutely burning. And until we see you on the court next time, this is Champions Tennisitics, and we will catch you at the next drop.
I think it's only normal that with the loss comes disappointment and being upset, but then again, it's another opportunity.
Alex, after a terrific year last year, how does it feel to be making your main draw debut at Melbourne?
It feels great. I'm super excited. Coming in. Kamusta mga kapong Pinoy? Surprise! Excited na akong imbitahin kayong lahat na manood sa mga laban ko sa Mubadala Abu Dhabi.